wasn't able to jump on. And then I'm going to share a deck just because it'll keep us focused here. Can you guys give me a thumbs up if you can see the deck, if you can see what's on the screen? Perfect. Okay, so we'll go ahead and jump into it because it's 10 o'clock. As a lot of you have been with me last year. Oh, I've got some backgrounds. I'm going to mute. All right, so everybody's muted, but that being said, feel free to come off mute if you have anything to say. I just know there was some background noise. So I know I was with a lot of you last year on this PSM group, so I'm really happy to be back. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Tyler Busby. I'm the district manager out of Maryland now, was Chesapeake last year. I really want this to, like last year, be a really inclusive group where we're helping each other and it's a free to talk, share your opinion kind of group. So if you have any thoughts, feel free to come off mute. Please share your thoughts that you have or any opposition you have. I think it's really important that we're on the same page and we're really discussing how we feel about things and what we're doing as best practices. So I'd love to hear from everybody as we go through, and please don't hold back. Feel free to blow up the chat. Feel free to come off mute and share your opinion. We all win together here. So with that being said, let's jump into it. So this year, Sheena Hackney also is on the group helping as well, and you can see she's on the call there. So thank you for joining. She's going to be doing a ton of work to help us and support us as well. She'll be on all our calls. She's been putting a lot of content together. After this call, there's going to be an optional if you want to stay. She'll go over some of the ITC lead stuff and how to get their information early. So super happy to have you on board, Sheena.
Yeah, I'm excited to be with the group and all of us to be successful this preseason.
Exactly. Super excited to have you here. And I see Joe's on as well. So awesome. Thank you, Joe. For those of you that don't know, he's our new RD. Super excited to have him on. Before we jump in, is there anything you want to say, Joe, or any comments from you?
So no, yeah. I just want to say hello to everybody. I want to say hello to everyone, and just a bit of public recognition, Tyler, to you, Sheena, to you, for all the work that you've already done to bring the PSMs together and to share content and to keep them all engaged and connected. Many of the PSMs I know this is a recurring deal for many of you, and you already know the role and what it takes, and you've been doing this in some cases for years now. But I will just kind of double down and reiterate how super important your role is. And I think sometimes we step aside and we don't understand how powerful we are in a certain role. And I would like to just kind of reiterate, like, what you do and the effort and work you put into this role will be the critical factor in our regional success for this upcoming tax season. Like, if you guys execute and help us with all things people related, get us staffed up, help our tax professionals cert up, find ways to draw external talent onto our team and elevate the type talent we have in the region. If you guys do that, we will have a successful tax season. As a region, if we fall short of that, it will be very tough sailing through the tax season. And so I just wanted to kind of reiterate that. Thank you in advance for all the work that you will be doing to help the region win over this preseason and through the upcoming tax season. So thank you. And I'll fall back and turn it back over to Tyler and Sheena to go through the content. Thank you, guys. Nice meeting you.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Also on our calls, like I said, we're going to have Marianne Harris, who's a virtual instructor. So she'll be able to answer questions about ITC. And we also have Don Kashishian, who's an experienced doc who can answer questions from that side as well. So thank you guys for joining. So I wanted to start with just an open question and kind of have some conversation. We have quite a few new PSMs this year, and we have a lot of experienced PSMs. So I kind of want to hear the mix. Feel free to come off mute. Feel free to put it in chat. But what's the PSM role responsible for? What do you guys think? I'd love to hear your guys' opinion. And there's a totally safe zone. No wrong answers here. Just what do you guys think?
Making sure that we are staffed and our staff is ready to serve all clients.
Absolutely love it. Yep, exactly. Getting all those people staffed and making sure they're ready. What else?
Christy in chat said recruiting for ITC.
That's huge.
Yes.
Exactly.
And really, when you think about what we do now, is it sets the tone for tax season. So being able to get geared up, and the comments Joe mentioned, recruit quality talent, elevate the talent that we have, and have enough of it, it really sets the parameters for the upcoming tax season. How well we perform now is going to kind of put in motion how well we'll perform during tax season.
Well said, right? We're setting the tone, we're building the foundation, right? But what I'm hearing and from what Joe said and what you guys are saying, it's like we're building the foundation right now that we're going to build the whole tax season on top of. So if we put the time and the effort to go about it in a smart way and build that strong foundation, it's going to be really easy to win in the tax season. If you don't build a strong foundation, the whole house is going to fall down and it's going to be a really rough tax season, right? And I know you guys have felt that in some of the offices last year as being understaffed. So huge wins there. I see Gabby said recruiting, staffing, training. Exactly. Lynn said helping offices get staffed with qualified, experienced tax pros, helping recruit, assisting tax pros and ready to serve, CE, small business search skills. Love it. Jen said keeping our tax pros and ITC leads engaged and supported. That's a huge one, and we'll talk about that in a second. And I see Janelle raised her hand as well.
Hey, I wanted to also say that it's not just for this year, but how we handle it this year will reflect our future years, because if they get a bad experience this year, then we don't get them to come back. But if we give them a great experience, then we have the likelihood of getting more people to return, which will make it better for future years for us.
Completely agree. I'll share when I was onboarded with the company, when I interviewed with Carice, I asked her what would really make me successful and make my district successful. She said, treat your people well so that they come back next season and convince them to start up. Well, that's pretty much the PSM role. So she was telling me for me to be successful in the year, be a good PSM as a DGM, right? So the best that we can build us up, the better success we're going to have, according to her. So that being said, this position is very much around influencing. And I want to start talking about that early on, right? They don't report to you, right? And it's all about how we influence our team to do things, how we influence people to get CEs done, influence them to apply, influence them to join those weekly calls, whatever you're trying to do to get that engagement and get people to do what you need them to do. So I wanted to ask out there, of those experienced PSMs, what are some of the things you do to help influence your team? Is there any techniques that you guys do that you found successful?
I think it's about building a relationship with them and letting them know that you're there for them and keeping them engaged throughout the whole year and answering any questions. And just, when you don't stay engaged with them and keep that communication going, they just fall off and they think that they're not feel valued. And I think that's where we fall off with a lot of our first years too, because we don't stay engaged, we don't keep them in the loop and help them.
Absolutely love that.
Something I did last year was I did a spreadsheet for everything, but I did a spreadsheet for all of the everyone that worked for H&R Block, but I also have little notes on the side, personal notes about them. So this year when I'm calling them back, I can use those personal notes. How's your husband? How's your this? How's that? You know, some of them have grandbabies. I've got little notes in there, and that helps me this year to reestablish the relationships.
Absolutely love that. I feel like some of the people on this call have read the book Radical Candor from Corporate. Those are the vibes I'm getting, which is great. What else? I see someone has their hand up, but I can't see their name. Go ahead and come up.
Debbie, go for it.
Oh, hey, it's me. So one of the things I did, a couple things because I was new to this district. So for the tax pros, definitely I was an MTL, so definitely lead by example and just stayed engaged with my tax pros. But one of the big things I did with my first years, I had a Teams meeting every week, just an open bridge. They could get on, they can ask questions, check to see how they're doing. And not only that, but as a manager, I went out and visited my first years. I sat down with them. How's it going? What can I do for you? And that's how I stayed engaged with them the whole tax season. And we actually had a good turnout of they want to come back and they want to be involved and they want to even mentor first years this year. So we really did have a good group of first years that we stayed engaged with. So that's important to me.
Absolutely love that. And in a minute, we're going to talk about how critical that is. So awesome, Cher. Thank you.
Dana put something in chat. Each year she has a mantra. This year it's retain, restore, rebuild, reinvigorate, and grow. I love it.
Like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I feel like we should steal that and put them on PSM t-shirts for everybody. It's awesome. So what I want to give you a realistic picture of what to expect in case you weren't on the team last year. We have the group chat in Teams. Want to be clear, that's like a safe area where you can ask questions and quickly get results. I'm monitoring it the whole time. If you have any question, I'll do my best to get the answer or find someone who knows the answer for you as quickly as possible. If you have someone that's stuck with a tech issue, send it to me. I'll escalate it to someone in tech. My job as the leader of this group, one thing me and Sheena are going to do and work really hard on is to remove obstacles for you. So whatever's slowing you down as a PSM, no matter what it is, partner with us. We'll help you get taken care of. So you can really focus on the influencing, the talking with people, the building the relationships so we can actually get these people hired on. We're also going to have these weekly calls every Thursday, 10 a.m. I did notice the first call I sent out was accidentally a one-time call. So you're going to get an updated call later today, which is just this being extended. I didn't want to change that before this call and confuse everybody. So when you see that later, that's what that is. But we'll have it every week. And then I'll have me and Sheena will start having one-on-ones with you guys as we start getting into the season just to help support. And this is really about a trust and support mode. It's not a, oh, got you. Oh, you're not doing well. It's how can we help you succeed? How can we step in and give you the resources you need? How can we partner you with someone that's doing well and help the whole group move forward? So that's kind of what you can expect from us from a support standpoint. If you need anything else, we're big on communication. Reach out to Sheena or I, and we're here to help. So let's break it down. And if you haven't noticed, this whole thing is a blueprint format because we're going over our blueprint for our plan and what it looks like to be a good PSM. So want to keep it as simple as possible. And we'll break this scorecard down in a second. So don't strain your eyes trying to look at it. But essentially, just like last year, I'll continue to send some version of a scorecard regularly to the chat so you know where you are. And this doesn't rank you. All it is it's where you are versus where the pace should be. So I will continue to take the pace and the different deadlines we have and adjust that up as we get closer to the deadlines. So as you get this report that you see all the time in our chat, if you're yellow or red, all that is an indicator that, oh, I'm not on pace to hit whatever target it is. And it should be a light bulb that, okay, I need to do something different there. So it's just to help you see, okay, do I need to adjust? Am I in a good space on this metric? And we'll change them, right? Like past the applications for prior year tax pros ends in, 9-10 days. That'll come off the scorecard. We'll have more stuff up there like first year applications or ITC leads or whatever. But really, it's just going to be an indicator so you can see and make sure you're trending the right way and everything. And we'll help support you on there just to keep it as simple as possible so you can quickly look and see what areas of opportunity there are. So let's talk about where we really are right now. I know this is our first meeting, but I want to give a realistic picture of kind of what we're working on and where we are. So first is prior year tax pro applications. Does anybody know the deadline to have 100% of your prior years applied? Any guesses? Oh, I see Lynn saying.
End of July.
Yep, exactly. So we have 7, 8, 9, 10 days. So 10 days to get everyone through. So if you're on the red or yellow there, be thinking about how you can move that number up. What I will say is between Shania, Jennifer, Tanya, DJ, Lynn, Anna, any of you want to share what you're doing around the prior year applications and how you're driving it so successfully?
Tyler, we've just been really relentless with, we sent out emails. Of course, Sheena did it while we were in our 8 weeks. Sent out emails, calling, just really like staying on them and letting them know why it's so important to go ahead and apply. And we've had a really good turnout. And as a matter of fact, we've already been getting them interviewed and everything. They're getting ready for the tax season. So
awesome.
Just staying on them.
Great share. Awesome. Thank you.
I agree with her. We've been doing the same thing. And then we also, since a lot of them didn't know DNA went away, and so that's news to them, we created a video for inactive and active tax pros on how they can log into AMP and get to Career Gateway to fill out their application. So it just made it a little bit simpler for them, took the guesswork out of it, and that seemed to help.
Yeah, that was awesome. And thank you for making that video. I shared that in the PSM group as well, and I'll share that again. Easy thing you can just send to your team to help them. So what I'm hearing is a lot of that communication, that early communication, which is great. Any other thoughts around this, the prior year tax prep applications before we move on? One thing I wanted to throw out here is if you know someone's not coming back, when you go into Gateway, you can change their deposition as to what their status is. If you change it to company not interested or candidate not interested, it removes them from that percentage. So you know they're not coming back, and then you can work on those ones that are in roster status. So make sure you clean that list up, and as you know people aren't coming back, change it to not interested. And what that'll do is then you'll have a more realistic goal of who you need to hire, and it'll move this percentage up. So make sure to clean up those lists. Some of the ones on the red and yellow here may just not have gone in and made those adjustments. The other thing I would say is I've seen a lot of luck from districts that are doing the easy texts, where they're mass texting everyone a link to apply, telling them this is the deadline, getting them to push through. Same with mass emails. Maybe do a cadence. I know last year we saw a lot of luck with PSMs that sent an email every Monday and Friday just to those people who are still in roster status, something like that, just to help push people through. So just some thoughts.
And you can send out the external link for the tax pro rehire. Kind of helps your tax pros with, who may be having trouble getting into AMP. So think about that too. I know that really helped our district.
Exactly. Great takeaway. CE completion. So this is a big one. This is where we struggled last year. So I'm trying to help us get ahead of it here. So I need everybody's help. I need everybody's buy-in here, because I know there was some pushback last year and we overcame it, but it was a struggle, and I'm just being transparent about it. We really want to get ahead of CEs because we did struggle with it last year. And let's talk through it. So does anyone know when the deadline for CEs is this year?
August 31st.
Yep, August 31st, September 1st. Yeah, exactly. That's the deadline Joe's put in place for our district. That's the hard deadline that we're going for. My recommendation: set your deadline as 8/15 for your team. That would be my recommendation, to get ahead of it, and then you can follow up on those that are missing it between the 15th and the 1st. Because what we saw last year for sure is the people that got all of their hiring goals hit on time, everyone that was ahead of the curve, everyone who hit all their goals had an early CE deadline, had an early application deadline, had early deadlines for all of these things, and it made it much easier to follow up and get a head start. So I would really recommend getting some deadlines out there. Of course, work with your DGM to get communication out there and make sure you guys are aligned. But I would probably recommend putting a deadline out there of like 8/15 just to get ahead of it, and then making sure we follow up by 9/1 to get the last minute people out there. But 9/1 should be the latest that we get it, and really we need to start discussing it now. Oh, I see Joe came off a mute. Go ahead.
Yeah, can we just sit in this moment for a minute? Because this is a big deal. And I don't want to blow by this, because your thoughts, your opinions, your feedback here is super important. And so I want to sit in this moment, and I really like to hear your true thoughts around this new accelerated CE deadline. right? Because the company's deadline is still going to be the end of November. I'm asking this region to be best in class in the company and complete CEs by the end of August or September 1. So what are your thoughts around that? And do you understand why? Deborah. You're on mute.
Okay, I'm off mute now. Sorry about that. My thoughts around it is, I'll be honest, I love it. Okay. I've been a PSM for a while and I love it because it gets us ahead of the game. It helps us with hiring, know how many people we need in each office, and it just sets us up for the tax season a lot sooner. So I think it's a good thing, and we've already got a plan. We've already been working on CE. So we have a plan set in our district, and we did a video yesterday, and I'm going in and we're doing lunch and learns, and I'm helping people get to where they need to be. And another thing we're doing is we have 6 weeks, that's 3 hours a week. This is something that we put out there to our district. I love it. I think it's a good thing.
Awesome. Thank you. It feels like you kind of understand why. So this is not designed to give you guys more work and to give you more stress and anxiety over your role. I said at the beginning how powerful you are and how important your role is. This is not to push you over the edge, so to speak. It really is to help you, and we can talk more about that if you guys like. But I see another hand, Tyler.
Yeah, go right ahead. It's Christy, I think.
Hi. I just wanted to put in that we are totally on board and also understand why we need to get it done early. We do have a little bit of pushback in our district. You probably know already we have like 215 prior tax pros, and a lot of them have been with the company 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
And those old folks, not old folks, the people been around a while, like they're familiar with the deadlines, and we do get some pushback, even though we do try to stay in touch with them and encourage and even do some incentives when we can. But that's where we kind of struggle a little. And so we could probably use help with that.
So I've already been having these conversations with my MTLs over this last week around it's a culture shift, right? We need to shift the culture for a lot of these tax pros, and helping them understand the why goes a long way. It's helping them understand that we struggle with staffing, and the best way we can get ahead of it is by hiring now. By separating CEs and cert ups are completely two different things. And right now we're focusing on CE because it's for a condition of employment. And the only way we can start interviews and the only way we can actually know what our staffing levels are, it's by getting ahead of it with CEs. I know Tanya had a bunch of great points and was talking to people about this last week. Tanya, do you want to share some of your thoughts around it? I thought you had some great points.
Yeah, I agree. I get both sides of it. I've been with the company for 18 years, so I've done a little bit of everything. So I get both sides of it. And I use that to leverage with the tax pros. Look, I get it. I know it's earlier. I'll just kind of like act like I know how they're feeling and sympathize with them. But I also tell them my thought process is, let's get it done early. So come November, December, the holidays, we can get our skills done a little bit earlier. So during that time, I don't want to be fooling with skills and CE during holidays. I'm going to spend it with my family and not worry about that stuff, So I've been using that to leverage, and it seems to be working for me. Don't get me wrong. We're going to have pushback, but I just try to jump over those hurdles as I can.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a few more hands up, but before we get to them, I'll just kind of piggyback on what you just said. I think it's super important to understand that if we can get ahead of this, and we will, like, it sets you guys up for better work-life balance in the future. You can actually, if you like eating turkey legs for Thanksgiving, you could eat your turkey leg and not think about who's lagging behind with CEs, or who do you have to call, or right, all of that stuff. And it could also open up opportunities for you to think about how you're going to lead your business in the tax season, and not so much how to find these laggards, if you will, and get them across the finish line. So that's a piece of it. Also, a piece of this is around the culture that I would like to have you help me build in Region 15. And it really is all about, let's not chase, let's not lag. If we have to do work, let's do it. Let's do it all the way, and let's be the best in class. It takes the same amount of effort to be the best as it does not to. You think about that. We have to get everybody across the CE line, period. So do you want to get accolades and kudos and lead and be best in class, best in world even? Or do you want to have to do it and feel like it's a struggle and stressed about it and wait until the last minute? I much rather share with my Vice President, Carice, that this team, the entire Region 15 team, is best in class, and our results are a direct reflection of our talent. That's one reason why I want you guys to get ahead of this.
And I noticed too, out of we have 15 results on the Are You Down for the 9-1 deadline, and all 15 said yes, which is a great indicator. I also wanted to point out that you as the leader here set the tone. So if you set the tone hard and aggressive, but from a true place around CE deadline, then when it comes to skills, when it comes to finishing their application, when it comes to everything else, it'll all fall in line. But if you're not assertive and you don't set that tone early as the leader around CEs, everything else can kind of drag with it. And we definitely saw some of that last year. Also think about next year. I'll share a story myself. When I first got hired as Chesapeake 2.5, 3 years ago with the company, I came in and I gave a hard deadline on CEs and said, if you can't finish by this date, I'm not going to onboard you. 4 people missed the deadline and I didn't hire them. And I tell you, next season, they all finished early. They were ready to interview, and the whole culture, it helped shift the culture. Right now, I'm not even in Chesapeake, and they're in the one of the top ones with CE because they know that expectation's there, right? So you setting that tone and expectation can really go a long way. Another point I wanted to add out is scheduling one-on-ones. A lot of you who've been PSMs for a while, you can tell me exactly who's going to be late on their CEs. You can list their names off because you've done this every year. Let's get ahead of it now. Call them, be like, hey, can I come talk to you? Can we meet in an office? Can we have a one-on-one over video? Can I call you at this time or whatever? And have the conversation with them. I need you to get CEs done by this date, and I constantly struggle getting you there. How can I help you get there? Why can't we get it done today? Have that conversation, get ahead of it. And then the last, go ahead.
Hey, Tyler, I don't want to pause you, but I am. Can we hear from who is this? Marianne, Dana, and Kimberly?
Yes.
Oh, that's Kimberly. That's so official. Okay. Can we hear from them before you keep going? I'd like to hear their thoughts.
Hi, this is Mary Ann, and even though I'm not officially a part of your region anymore, it's nice to meet you. I'm glad to see that they've got us a nice strong leader down there because my heart is still there. But I just do want to point out that a lot of the upper level classes are only being offered by virtual instructor this year, and some of them aren't until late in the season. And you're going to hear from your tax pros, well, the class I want doesn't start until October. And I just want to be prepared. I did the PSM job for a year, and I know how that vicious circle comes around where you're pushing them to get done and they're pushing right back saying, well, if the class was available to me, I would be glad to take it. So I just wanted to point that out and make sure that everybody understands that most of the classes this year are being done virtually, and there is going to be some timing issues.
Hey, that's a great call out. So for you guys, think about that, because if you come to your DGM and say, hey, we won't be able to hit our deadline, and they come to me and say, hey, Joe, we won't be able to hit our deadline, what do you think my response to them is going to be? It's probably going to be, the question I will probably ask is why, and then they'll explain the scenario, and my response will probably be, I need you to figure that out. Like, how can we get past that? Right, that's a great example of a road bump that's not created by us, but we will be expected to get around. And so I know there are a few more hands, and we can come back to that. Maybe Tyler, I don't want to take over your call, but maybe if you guys want to come back to that and ask more questions related to that, we can. But Mary Ann, thank you for sharing that, because that's real. That's you guys will face that for sure.
Yeah,
Dana. Yep, we got Dana and Kim and Gabby also.
So really, when we're talking to them about their whole chain, because it's really a chain, each piece is linked. First, we need to make sure they're getting their app in. Then we need to make sure they're getting their CEs. And then they're doing all the other things for Ready to Serve. So if we come with the idea of supporting them to get them to where they need to be, but doing it early, so that they're not bogged down with trying to get classes in October, trying to do skills, and then trying to make sure they're small business certified. But go ahead now and help them map that plan out. So some of the things we can do, because I took a look at the courses and I have those, so I know exactly when the courses are being offered. I know you'd like to take that, but let's put that a little bit later. We need to make sure that you get your Ready to Serve status early. That's going to allow you more time to do practice with Work Center, more practice with virtual. So let's focus on what needs to happen now so that you'll be in a better position later. So when we come to them in a supportive role, let me help you. Let's get a plan together and then follow up. We've got all the excuses. Well, I've got problems with my computer. Well, we've opened up offices. Let's get you to go ahead and come into an office and get you taken care of. Well, I'm so busy. Well, if you're so busy right now, tell me how you're going to work. Because if you can't do this now, if you can't devote the time and energy to commit and invest in your career, then what are you giving me in tax time? I'm trying to help you to get to where you need to be. But if you're not willing to commit now, what kind of commitment am I going to get from you then? So helping them to realize these roadblocks that you have don't have to be roadblocks. So let's help tear these down and set some new path for you to continue to build on the link in the chain, because it's all connected. So if you work with me, I'll work with you, but we need to start this now in order for me to help you get to where you need to be by tax time.
Absolutely love it. Can agree more. And then I saw we had, who else do we have holding their hand up? Kim, do you want to go?
Well, I don't know if I want to follow that, but I've got a best practice. And first I'll say it's not me. Dawn is a rock star in this. But something that we're doing that's working is, Dawn sets the expectation with them, what they need to do, when they need to get it complete. And then what I'm doing in the Tax Pro interviews is I'm doing the follow-up and I'm getting them to set a commitment for her. So we developed a partnership in this CE thing, and it's really working out well for us. I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, that's great.
Gabby and then Debbie.
So one of the solutions I found that is helping us in Chesapeake is that the small business classes have launched earlier this year. So I've posted all the small business classes. Every email we send out has the link to the small business certification. So if you have to take the small business certification anyway, take these CEs, you kill two birds with one stone. It's the same with starting up. But since we're focusing on small business, we're sending out that small business focus so that everybody's small business certified as well as CE complete.
I love that, because if you're thinking about all the things we're focusing on in the district, right? Higher revenue, bigger retainment of customers is the way the company is shifting. It's just a smart double focus there. Thanks for the share. And I think we had one more person. Was it Debbie who had her hand up?
Yes. Great job on that. Was that Gabby that said that? Because we're doing the same thing. And another thing, as I stated earlier, we did a CE video that Sheena's sending out, and I went over those external CEs, as I see Tyler might have put that in chat as well. So I went over once again to refresh their memory on how to go in and do those. It's just polling questions, and at the end, a survey, very quick and easy credits that they can earn, and then they can just upload them into the Block Academy. So that's another good way.
Yep, and I love that, and I think of purpose with this too, right? Like if we have a tax pro that's their second year, whatever, we definitely want them to take some more intense ones. But if you have that tax pro that you're struggling to convince to come back, and you need some easy CEs that do count for full credit, and it's an easy way to get people across the line. So leverage as you will, just make sure we're using some common sense with it for sure. Before I know we've been spending a lot of time on CE, but I've got one last kind of ask here. Joe, and the thought of getting CEs done early, how would you feel about doing like $50 in block stars to the person who increases the most in CEs from this week to our call next week? How would you feel about that?
I love it. Let's do the top two.
Top two? Awesome.
Can we set a range though? Like I'd like to know like what type of movement can we see? Like what's the baseline? So if somebody moves 1%, that's no bueno. But maybe you move 10%. I mean, what's the basis?
Yeah, how about we say the minute you got to move at least 5% to qualify? How do you feel about that? Yeah. All right. So so not only can you set your district up well to start strong, but you can also get yourself $50 and get yourself paid. Make it fun. Start it early. So thank you, Joe, for offering that, and that's a huge win for us. So I'll send out as we go through this week. I'll send out updates regularly so you guys can see where your movement is, and we can start kicking some tax there in that category for the top two. Love it. All right, question for you guys. So this was put in the chat by Rochelle. You had to do some math to get the number, but does anybody know what percentage of first-year tax pros quit before the end of the season? Any guesses out there? Tanya says 60%. What do you guys think? Any other guesses? %63% of our first-year tax pros quit before the end of season. Ouch. To me, that says what we're doing is not working. So I love what we were, and that's as a company, right? That's not us as a region. So I like to think back of what Debbie was saying earlier, what some of the other people were mentioning. I know Maria, who I think she's on the call, had a great first-year tax pro program. Think of those things that you do to drive engagement and how it'll help you make that number a lot smaller. And the reason I like to share these two statistics together, look at this next one. This was also shared on the call yesterday. 70% of tax offices hit peak in April. So our number of first-year tax pros all season is going like this, and we're losing more and more. And our number of customers is going like this, and we're getting more and more customers. So what's happening is by the time we actually get the customers and the time we need the first-year tax pros, they already quit. So it doesn't help us out. So keep that in mind as we're hiring first-year tax pros. Really, we're trying to build them up so that they can help us during the tax season. And we want to keep that engagement, that relationship that we were all talking about earlier. That's how we're going to win and hit the tax season. Something I highly recommend is that ATA program, right? I shared the stats in the chat, and they shared it on the call. Great way for us to get them to level up, make them a stickier, meaning that they come back and stay retained as a tax pro, help more customers. It'll help you a lot to hit your peak for sure. I sent out a survey. I don't know if you guys remembered at the end of last season, asking the PSMs a bunch of questions so I could learn from it. One of them was, do you wish you hired more people? Every single PSM answered yes, that they wish they had hired more. So now is that time where before we get to the regret of, oh, I wish I hired more. Now we're at the point where we can hire more. So let's go after it and be aggressive around the first-year tax pros. And at the end of this call, like I said, there's optional to stay on. Sheena's going to go through how you can see some of your ITC leads already and find their phone numbers and start working on that before the official call campaign's out. So it'll help give you a jump start here. We're going to go into this after the call, like I said, with Sheena. I think that's a really good space for that and for time so we can keep pushing on. Here's a couple things you can do now, and I apologize for kind of being an eye chart, but just some things I want you guys to be thinking about. Last year, what we realized, Dan and I were working with all the PSMs, and what we realized is we had an aha moment. The top 4 people who all hit their goals first all had Indeed accounts and were very comfortable with it. The bottom 4 who were really struggling, none of them even set up their Indeed. It seemed to be a very clear indicator of how successful we were on finding first-year tax pros and getting them engaged and hired. So on one of our calls coming up, we'll go through Indeed intensely. We have the video that Lynn put together last year. I've still got that video. We'll share that out again of how to set up Indeed, how to use it, some best practices. But start thinking and talking to your DGM now. How can you get those posts up? ITC starts on the 25th. That's 4 days from now. Are you going to have a pipeline of of candidates to pull from to start putting them into ITC? The easiest way to do that is to start that Indeed post now. 2, start a meeting cycle. So you, your doc, your DGM should all be having a weekly call where you go over what your focus is, what you're working on. If you don't have that set up with your doc and your DGM, I recommend you already do that and start that now. That way you guys can be on the same page. Also, I recommend having a Teams page between you where you have a shared document where you have where each person is in the chain that Debbie was talking about earlier, right? Where they are in the application process, what steps you need to do, what notes you guys can work together. We shared some of that stuff last year. We'll share it again as we move forward this year. Working the termed associate list. So your DGM has a report that's available in Workday, and it shows all termed associates for the last 3 years. So you can pull that report and you can narrow it down to ATLs, CSPs, and if you fish in those 2 roles for ITC, you can call those people that are warm customers that have worked for you in the past in the last couple of years and say, hey, you know, you used to work for us. How would you feel about coming and taking the ITC for free with us? We can support you. It's an easy way to get bodies that are maybe interested, already have some experience with you, may already have that relationship with an office manager that already kind of wants to be that role. I know we sent out some communication yesterday in our district, and Tanya already had people instantly replying saying they were interested. So just a great, easy way where you can fish for some quick applicants that probably may be interested for you. And we'll go over that on another call as well here shortly. The referral process. So an associate can make up to $1,250 by referring, and I put the link there, and I'll share this deck with you guys. Get some communication out to your team now, be it a Facebook page or to everybody's personal email saying, hey, you know, make the subject line. Do you want $1,250? Put in there the referral link and get them to help work for you. So it's not all on you. Your whole team can help you fill up and get people. There's that saying, birds of a feather flock together, right? Your best people, call them and say, hey, you're one of my best people. Do you have some CSPs or tax pros you can refer? Maybe your DGM will give them some money and block stars to help with that as well on top of the referral, right? What can you do to help fill that staff with people who will be sticky and impactful instead of setting up 200 interviews and having 3 people show up like we had last year quite a bit? Make sure you have access to the national team. So I put it in the PSM chat. If you don't have access, there's a link you can click and it'll automatically request access for you. But just to be clear, there's a call every 2 weeks on Tuesday evening at 5 p.m. for a national call that everyone's invited to. Please make sure you're on those. That's the whole company. And then there's also a Teams for that where they're sharing PowerPoints, resources, all the corporate tools to help you, which is that next link of use your resources to where they'll cover all that information, and there'll be a lot of important information coming out. So just make sure you have access to that stuff. If you don't, feel free to shoot me a text, a message on Teams, and email, and I'll help you get there if you're having trouble finding it, or if you're not on any of those teams. Am I missing anything here, Sheena?
Many of these items on here actually, as far as a Teams page where you can go to send out mass emails. This is part of your PSM training, right? So make sure you're well into your PSM training. As you all know by now, there is a workshop that you need to sign up for. But having access to the email, I know, is important. Definitely have
Go for it. Anyways.
No, I'm excited about it too. I know both Debbie and Jen, the PSMs within my district, are super excited about it too. And they were even more excited about it when they woke up to replies and people who were interested, right? Kind of giving them that energy to keep going. And, you know, the title of our page there for preseason is Let's Do This, right? So that every time we open it up, we're ready to roll.
All right, I'm going to roll into 2 quick reports for you. And most of you probably already know this, but I just want to make sure that I'm sharing it in case anyone doesn't. All of you should have access to the hub at this point. If you don't, send me a text or an email and I'll get you access. 2 reports you can really look at now for the 2 big focuses we have. One is CE compliance. So if you click on the CE compliance list, you can see a couple things. Oh, after I authenticate, 1 second. It's the danger of actually doing it live. Okay, so if you hit CE compliance, you'll be able to see a couple things. You should be able to see I believe everyone here can see the region. So you'll actually be able to see your movement up here. So you can see your district and your prior percent of associates that have completed CEs. One note here is this will be out of everyone that worked last year. So there will be a point when we get closer where it's only those that are hired and these numbers will change. Right now, just to keep it easy, you want to recruit as many people as possible anyways. This is the number we're going to go off of. So per Joe, the top 2 increasing over this week. This is where you can go day by day, usually updates by 9 a.m. You'll be able to see where your percentage is. And then if you narrow down to your district, so I'll just pick mine up here because that's easy. You hit refresh. Down here is all of your associates, their contact info, their phone number, and if they have applied this year. This applied column is delayed, but the one that is update is if they've completed their CEs. So it'll say if they've completed it, what date, and if it's done before deadline. If you're more comfortable with Excel, you can also download data and download it into Excel and manipulate it that way. Same thing. But that's the easiest way. It updates every single day. You'll be able to see where people are with all the parts of their CEs and help contact them if you haven't seen that. The other thing, and each of you should be getting this according to Rochelle yesterday on the call. So if you're not, once again, shoot me an email. I'll make sure you start getting it. Is the People Center report. So you should get this email every morning. And when you click on it, it'll say click here to download. You want to hit open. And then you want to download in CSV. That's just the easiest way to do it. And what that'll do is it'll open in an Excel sheet, which I've already got open for you. And this is just a ton of information, but I'm going to show you really quick how to actually use it and what to look at here. So if you highlight this whole top row, I find this easier than Gateway to see who's applied. So you highlight that whole top row and hit this sort filter button here and hit filter, and then you'll be able to filter all the columns. So we'll pick a district. Sheena, what's your district number?
Yeah, we're 19201.
Okay, so this is her whole district number. Now this column L is the date that they actually applied. So we can go sort newest to oldest. And every day we can see, okay, the last applications she had were on the 19th, and here's the most recent applications, what they applied for, when they applied, so you can reach out to it. So if you pull this report and sort it every day by most recently applied, you'll be able to see anyone that's applied to any of your recs for your whole district every single morning, their contact info, what they applied to, so you can contact them and get on top of it. So when we're thinking of engagement, when we're thinking of constantly, building that relationship and actually contacting all our people, this is a really easy report to use for that piece. The other thing you can do is you can go by job title. So we can go over here and we can say, okay, we want a tax pro is what we're looking at, right? And then we can see the status of what they are. So anyone that is a roster here, and I think she's probably at 100%. Okay, so you can hit roster. So what we did was we picked tax pros and roster. These are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people who still need to apply that are a tax pro for her. And that's just and here's their phone number, their email, and their name. So it's an easy way where you can chop the report down, see who's left to apply if they're in that roster status, because that means they haven't applied yet. And also to see who's applied most recently. So it's a really easy report to use. I know I went through that a little fast, for everybody's time interest. But if you want me to break down that report with you, look with it, look with you at your team, help look at whatever information, shoot me an email, a note. I'll put time on my calendar with you, and we'll go through it together. So that way you know exactly where you are and everyone's comfortable with it. So hopefully those two reports kind of give you an easy way to look at Prior Year Tax Pro applications, who's actually applying, and where the CEs are, which are kind of the big focuses right now. All right, well, with that, I know we went a little over time, so I appreciate everybody who's sticking around. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to shoot me a text, email, same with Sheena, or throw it in the Teams chat so everyone can see what it is. And then we'll meet again next Thursday at 10 a.m. and hopefully it'll be a little shorter. Sorry for dragging the time out there. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Talk to you later.
Thank you.